right, we got goodies.
My name's Daniel Hardigan. I'm with Celeste Longacre today in Walpole at her garden. She's going to give us a garden tour, give us a lot of tips, and we're going to make some mayonnaise later.
Yeah, we're going to ferment some mayonnaise.
Oh, fermented.
Yeah, I'm big on ferments. So this is my home. I'm actually in Alstead. And we're going to sort of walk around. I actually grow all our vegetables pretty much for the whole year. So I put them in the freezer and I dry things and I can spaghetti sauce, and I have a root cellar for the beets and the potatoes and the carrots. So we're going to take a walk around and sort of see what we've got. Okay, so you got to have flowers because flowers are soul food. So this is the main flower garden in the front here, and we have flowers down along the side of the garden and flowers along the side of the house and along the side of the garden there. So it's nice because I like to bring flowers in, and some of them are edible. This here is an edible flower. Okay, calendula, and it comes in different colors. And I like it because you can actually dry it. You can take the petals off and put them on a cookie sheet and dry it. Or you can just sort of sprinkle them through a salad, and it makes the salad really pretty. And it's actually a healing herb as well. Our garden, this was all sucker forest when we started, so it was all trees about this big around, this far apart, and 10 feet tall. All those trees, when we came here, were 10 feet tall. So we had to Bob had to cut the trees and pull the stumps, and I had to pickaxe the roots out of every inch of garden soil. So we started with wooden beds, but we didn't want to use pressure treated because that's arsenic, so we used a different kind of bed, and every year they would start to deteriorate more, and Bob would have to come out and fix it, and it was looking bad, and he was feeling bad. So one day he just decided, he said, I'm just going to redo all the beds in stone.
Yeah.
So he started, and it took him 7 years to do all of my beds in stone. Because it's quite a large garden. And when he finished that, he said, well, what would you like in the paths? And I said, well, stone would be nice. So he spent 3 more years doing all the paths, and then I put creeping thyme in between the stones because it helps. It doesn't totally keep the weeds at bay, but it helps to keep the weeds at bay, and you do have to keep it cut back, but it's easier to cut back the thyme than it is to weed between rocks.
Yeah,
because
it
rocks
smells good too.
And it smells good, and you can also use it. So we have a couple nice beds of carrots here. If you're a beginner gardener, I would suggest to start with something other than carrots because it takes 10 to 14 days for them to germinate.
Yeah.
And especially with our raised beds, some days in May after I planted them, they're hot and sunny and windy, and they dry that little top part of the soil where the seed is living has to be kept wet.
Yeah.
I'll come out 4 or 5 times a day to water them. So, you might want to start with something else if you're a beginner gardener. So lettuce, I plant lettuce every 10 to 14 days all summer long because it gets bitter after a while, and I like it sweet. And what I do is I just broadcast the seeds. So I just cover the dirt with the seeds, and then I cover it with compost and water it well, and then I thin. So as I've been eating this lettuce, I've been thinning it and thinning it. When they're really tiny, the thinnings go to the chickens, but as they get bigger, we eat it, and it's really delicious lettuce. But here, try one piece. And red lettuce is actually more nutritious than green lettuce, and open lettuce is more nutritious than closed lettuce. And this particular one, this is red sales, and it's supposedly a really, really nutritious lettuce. So it's one of the only ones that I plant. So this is a paprika pepper. If you want to make paprika, you need to plant paprika plants, paprika pepper plants. See, this is a regular pepper plant here, and these are paprika peppers. So I have somebody start some for me. I'm not very good at starting plants, but it's actually Harlow's that starts them for me.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and now he puts them out because other people take them too. And then this is 2 different types of kale. Kale is really good for us, but you need to cook it. It's one of those vegetables that you shouldn't eat raw. So I freeze it, and I make kale chips, and it's really, really, really good for us. I like to grow a lot of beets because I do the beet kvass. I make a lot of beet kvass, and they're really easy to keep. I put them in the root cellar. What I do is I pick them and I leave them out for maybe 20 minutes, half an hour on one side, and then turn them over and leave them another 20 minutes, half an hour on the other side. And then I cut most of the top off. I leave a little bit of the top on and brush the dirt off with a soft brush. And then I pack them either in really dry sand or in slightly wet wood chips. And I put them in 5-gallon buckets. So you put like a layer of sand on the bottom, and then I put them not touching, and I cover that with sand, and I do another layer, then I cover it with sand. So you can get a lot of beets, or a lot of, same thing with the carrots. I do the exact same thing with the carrots, so you can get a lot in a bucket. And putting them down in my root cellar, I can eat them through next July.
Wow.
And they look just like you just picked them, right out of the garden. It is amazing. And then here it is, we are now in September. And usually the second week of August, I harvest my onions. And when I harvest my onions, I plant my wintering over spinach and lettuce, which the chipmunks have kind of taken out. Usually I can have this until about Thanksgiving. I'll cover it. I'll put something like this over it.
Oh, really?
And then I'll cover it with plastic. I'll probably just cover it with something for the first few frosts, but after it starts to get really cold, I'll cover it with plastic. I've actually had spinach and lettuce as late as Christmas.
Wow.
On a year that was very, a very mild fall. And in the spring it comes back,
Cool.
which is really nice.
Yeah.
So in the spring when there's not that much to eat, we've got the asparagus, but I'll have lettuce and spinach. I actually gave up on spinach years ago because I used to plant it when I planted the rest of my garden.
Mm-hmm.
And then I read something that said if you plant spinach when the days are getting longer, it will just bolt.
Oh.
So you have to wait till the days are getting shorter.
Oh.
And I think that's true. So I have it all fall, and then in the spring it will come up and it will bolt. But
Yeah.
I mean, I've already had it for a whole season,
Yeah.
so it's just like an extra bit.
Oh.
And it's really good. I love cooked spinach.
Another good tip. So it's okay to start planting spinach now.
Yeah, now it's a
Early
little
winter.
bit late, but because I usually plant it in August,
Okay.
around the middle of August,
Yeah.
or the second week of August, because that's when I take this bed was full of onions up until then. So I take the onions out and I start their sunning process, which is how they keep.
All
And then I put them in string bags in the pantry when they're all
right. Yeah.
securely
Dried up.
dry. Yeah, well, when they've been sunned, they need to be sunned in order to keep. There's potatoes under here, but cabbages are still looking pretty good. They're still growing, so I haven't started harvesting them yet. What I'm going to do with the cabbage, most of it will go into sauerkraut or kimchi. I don't actually technically really make a kimchi because kimchi has to have hot peppers and I don't like hot peppers. So I just put sweet peppers in, but it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
And then over here I'm growing sweet potatoes.
Oh, wow.
And this is we live in a northern climate and sweet potatoes are really a southern
Yeah.
crop. So if you want to have good sweet potatoes, you have to put
Oh.
clear plastic down because it heats the soil up. Sweet potatoes like it 100 degrees or more, which in New Hampshire doesn't happen
Yeah.
like ever.
Yeah.
Not just
Not outdoors.
not outdoors. So, I'm going to be harvesting them pretty soon, and then you have to cure them. And so I clean them off. I actually wash them off. And then you put them in a room that's 90 to 95 degrees for 5 days and 5 nights, and they grow a second skin. Even if you break them when you're picking them, they grow a second skin over the broken part. The only thing they don't like to be dropped, because then they get bruised and they won't keep. So I just put them, my daughter has a real small room, so I put them in her room with a heater. And I put them on newspaper and, 5 days and 5 nights, and then you can put them in baskets. And they keep for up to a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's handy.
Yep, and if they start to sprout, they're in too warm of a spot. So you just move them to a little bit of a cooler spot. But they like it dry. They don't need to go into the root cellar. They just go in a room. And then this is radicchio. I swear, I've never seen radicchio look like that.
No. Usually purple.
It's usually like a cabbage and it's red and white.
Yeah.
But this is supposedly the most nutritious kind of radicchio.
Oh.
So I've been adding it in little bits to my salads.
Yeah.
And then this is horseradish.
Oh, nice.
So that's kind of a perennial.
Yeah.
I used to harvest it in the fall, but then a friend of mine who grew up in Poland said, oh, my mother always harvested it for Easter.
Oh.
So we harvested it last spring,
Yeah.
and it worked. So when I plant plants in the ground, I always give them a cutworm collar. I just put a little bit of aluminum foil down into the soil about an inch and up about an inch so that they can't bite it,
Oh,
you know.
yeah.
So when I plant, I buy tomato plants, and I might have started these. I think actually these grew up out of the ground, and then I planted these from seed, but then I did add the cutworm collars when I thinned them to the eventual whatever I wanted to have. Because not everybody has cutworms, but if you have them, you need to do that. You need to put the cutworm collar on. Another tip, if you plant marigolds with all your brassicas, which are the cabbages, the broccolis, the Brussels sprouts, and the kale, you don't get very many of the cabbage worms.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I've only encountered a couple of cabbage worms with all the beds that I have this year. Otherwise, they kind of can come in and make a mess of it because you end up with lots of little green worms, and they poop all over your stuff, and it's disgusting.
Hard to process.
Yeah, so they just have the marigolds. Okay, so this is radicchio, which is supposedly radicchio is like a real powerhouse of vitamins and minerals. And this particular type of radicchio, I'll have to look it up to let you know which one it is, but it's supposed to be like the most. So what I do is I take bits of it, and then I just cut a little bit and put little pieces in my salads so that we're eating, bits of radicchio while we have our salads. It's got a little bit of a bitter taste, so I don't put too much in. But I feel like we're getting lots of vitamins and minerals. The point to doing all of this, the whole garden here, is for health. Because I know what I'm eating, and I give my plants a lot of extras. I give them kelp meal, and I give them azomite powder, and I give them a lot of extras so that they are loaded with vitamins and minerals. And those vitamins and minerals then come into me and keep me healthy. Backyard chickens are actually really easy. I spend maybe 15 or 20 minutes in the morning feeding and watering them. And that's really all you have to do besides collecting the eggs. And once or twice a year, you really need to clean out the coop. Yeah. But other than that, and also, raccoons can figure this out.
Oh, wow.
So that's why there's 2 enclosures to the chicken coop to make them safe. You have to build them Fort McChicken. Yeah. Because everything likes a chicken dinner. Yeah. We have wild animals, and so this is the coop that my husband built.
Oh, there's a hen.
There's a hen. She's on the ground there. But they do have roosts here on this side, and they have the nesting boxes over there. There's even an egg in one of them there. And chickens have a harder time with heat than they do with cold. So they have the shade. This is a shady spot for them. They can get some sun, which is good because then they have vitamin D in their eggs.
Oh, yeah.
So I also give them flax meal because that increases the omega-3s in their eggs.
Oh.
And originally I gave them flax seeds, and my friend who's a nutritionist, she said, they can't digest the flaxseed. Oh. So then I gave them flax meal, and she said, flax meal goes rancid pretty quick. Oh. So if you buy flax meal, it's probably already rancid.
Wow.
So now I buy the flax seeds and I fresh grind them for my chickens. These are spoiled rotten chickens.
Yeah.
Okay, so chickens, I feed the weeds, most of the weeds to the chickens because they will digest them, and then all the weeds that have seeds in them, the seeds will be gone, which is really nice. So we're going to come into the chicken yard here, and we're going to lay out the weeds so that they can eat them. And what they don't like just decomposes, and I don't know if you can see, but down at the bottom, this is kind of a slope. There must be a foot of dirt that has developed since I've gotten the chickens. And I'm sure it's got really good stuff in it, chicken poop, and so next year I'm going to be putting that into the garden. And this is anti-hawk, so hawks aren't going to want to fly through this to come and grab chickens. I have 3 different kinds of chickens. I only keep them for 2 years because they lay really well for 2 years and then they kind of slow down. So we do actually eat them after 2 years. So I have white rocks. Those are the 2-year-olds. They're going to be going pretty soon. And these are black sex lynx. And then these are barred rocks. They're the new ones. They were born like the beginning of May. So they haven't laid any eggs yet. They're just getting settled and getting used to being here. And then around the outside of the fence, I have hardware cloth, which is the same thing that I have on the windows. So it's a little easier to see on the window. This stuff here, it's not really a cloth. It's called hardware cloth, but it's really a very tight mesh metal. And I have it up a couple inches, and then I have it buried out about 18 inches. So anything that tries to dig under the fence is going to hit that, and they won't be able to dig under the fence. With chickens, you have to really protect them. You have to really give them a safe place to be. That's probably the number one thing with chickens. They can keep themselves warm. You have to give them food and water and a safe place to live. Because everybody does like a chicken dinner. We've got foxes and just coyotes, and everything likes a chicken dinner, so you have to really protect them. And they love that, they love this stuff. And like the Japanese beetles, when the Japanese beetles come out, they can't fly when it's cold or cool. So in the beginning, in the morning, when the Japanese beetles are out, I get a little cup and I fill it with water, and I knock the beetles into the water, and then I bring them down here and I and the chickens love them.
Oh, that's it. I'm gonna do that.
Feed them to the chickens. Yeah, absolutely. They love it. They come running when I say buggies, girls.
Yeah, I didn't know about they can't fly in the morning part.
No, they can't. And the asparagus beetle can't fly in the morning either.
Oh.
Or even later at night when the temperature cools down.
Yeah.
So you want to do it like before 8 or 9 in the morning, or you could probably do it at 8 o'clock at night too.
Okay.
There are probably over 100 phrases that we use in this country that have to do with chickens, and I think it's because in the beginning, most of the early settlers, they all had chickens, you know, because we've got henpecked, we've got cocky, we've got nest egg, don't count your chickens until they hatch, good egg, bad egg, pecking order. The list really goes on and on and on and on. It just is amazing.
So you make mayonnaise with the eggs, huh?
I do make mayonnaise with the eggs.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
Okay, we're going to go inside and make some mayonnaise.
All right, we're here in Celeste's home, and she's going to teach us how to make some mayonnaise. And you know, I've always wondered what goes into mayonnaise and how it's made, so I'm delighted we're going to go through this.
Okay, well, there's a lot of different recipes for mayonnaise, but you know, you kind of tweak it and you play with the spices and you get something that you like. So it took me a little while to figure out something that my husband likes. But I start with 3 egg yolks, and I already separated them from the eggs so that we could just put them right in here. And it's nice to have a
Scraping.
yeah, it's nice to have a food processor to make your your mayonnaise in. Scrape that into there.
And these are from your chickens.
These are from our chickens. I wouldn't make mayonnaise with just regular store-bought chickens because there's a possibility that they could have salmonella in them. So, but my eggs, I know my chickens are healthy, so I know that they don't have any of that.
Okay.
Okay, so then there's a little bit of lemon, and you get more out of a lemon if you roll it hard on a surface before you cut it.
Okay.
But I did already cut up a lemon, so we could just pour about a tablespoon in.
Tablespoon of lemon.
And then this is homemade whey. Okay, this is what's going to help to ferment it. So I put in about a tablespoon of whey.
Okay.
Okay, and then we put the top on. Now we're going to add some spices. So I like a little bit of turmeric.
Oh yeah.
Turmeric's really good for you, so while it's going around, maybe a little bit more turmeric. This is a 1/4 teaspoon, so we put in 2 of those with the turmeric. This is cumin. I like a little bit of cumin in my mayo. So heaping 1/4 teaspoon. Like that. A little bit of mustard. Maybe a regular 1/4 teaspoon of mustard. And then a generous pinch of salt, or this is a seasoned salt here that I like. I'll put that in. Okay, then the trick with mayonnaise is the oil. 3/4 cup of oil. I use sunflower oil, and I buy it, make sure you buy it in a dark bottle and it's kept cool, because oils do go rancid. So you want to add the oil really slowly, like almost a drop at a time. Most of these come with a hole in the bottom of this if you want to add it that way. But I like to add it this way because then I don't have to wash that. So you can just add it really, really slowly. What I do is I leave it on the counter overnight before I put it in the... It doesn't have to ferment before you use it, but if you want it to ferment, you leave it on the counter overnight and then put it in the refrigerator the next day. So if you try to pour the oil in too fast, it won't thicken.
Oh. Could you do this by hand with a whisk or something?
You probably could.
Yeah.
Although I don't know that I would want to.
No.
Ooh. Okay. So there's our mayo.
Oh wow. It's a nice texture.
Yeah, it's not too bad. What I'm going to do is mix this stuff in with it, just to not waste anything. And just to make sure that everything got mixed up okay, I like to sort of mix it up here. Sometimes those spices come in sometimes fast and sometimes slow, so I'll mix it all up. It's a little different. different, huh?
Oh, yeah.
So what I usually do is I always make 2 batches because you lose a lot of the batch on the side of the pan here. So I always get more out of the second batch than I do out of the first. I love mayonnaise too, and most of the mayonnaise that they have in the stores are not made with good oils, so they're really not good for us.
Nice.
So if you can make your own mayonnaise, that's good.
It's pretty easy.
It's not hard.
Yeah.
So what I will do later is I'll make another batch, and then it will pretty much fill up this jar. It'll fill it up to about here. Because you lose a lot that sticks to the pan, so that is just going to be the same stuff that sticks to the pan, and you're going to get.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah. So then you're going to get more the second time.
So you do about 6 eggs worth.
Yep, I do about 6 eggs worth, and a cup and a half of oil. You can also use avocado oil.
Oh.
Avocado oil makes a nice mayonnaise, or if you're going to use it right away, you can use coconut oil.
Oh, yeah.
But the minute you put the coconut oil in the fridge, it's hard as a rock.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to, if you make it with coconut oil, you have to use it right away.
Oh, I see. Fantastic. Now, how long will this last you?
Well, if you ferment it, what I do is I put the cap on tight, and I put it on the counter. And if you ferment it, it will last for, I think, several months.
Wow.
So this is the one I'm working out of.
Uh-huh.
So we've been eating that for a while.
Yeah.
And it started out, it was this full.
Uh-huh.
And, but it's yummy.
Yeah, it has a really delicious, rich flavor.
Mm-hmm. And you
What
know it's
kind
good
of
for you.
oil is it?
This was sunflower oil.
Oh. Does
So-
it matter which oil you use?
It's very important which oil you use. And not just for the flavor, but soy oil is not good for us.
Oh, okay.
And canola oil is not good for us. Most mayonnaises are made with one of those 2.
Oh.
And so sunflower and avocado are actually the best oils to use. And you want to make sure it's a dark bottle. Some sunflower oil is shown in a light bottle. Oils are not very stable. They go rancid. Olive oil should be kept in the refrigerator.
Oh, wow.
And you can make it with olive oil, but I don't personally like the flavor of mayonnaise made with olive
Okay.
oil. I think it's a better flavor if you use sunflower oil or avocado
It
oil.
is a very nice flavor.
Yeah, cool.
Well, thanks a lot.
Oh, you're welcome.
Take the mystery out of mayonnaise.
The mystery out of mayonnaise, it's not hard. Okay, so when I first moved in here, I didn't have electricity or water, and I did a lot more canning. So when we put this addition on, it was quarts, pints, and quarts. They went all the way across and all the way back. And we decided to experiment with a passive refrigerator. These guys, you don't need to come in here. So we dug down to the dirt, put cinder blocks, and earth bermed it all, and it really does keep things cool. Maybe not in August, but the rest of the year it really keeps things cool. And this worked out so well that when we did the next edition, we actually put in a root cellar. So I'll show you that. So before my husband started to build this addition, he dug down to the ledge, and he built it up with the cinder blocks, and he poured a cement floor, and he earth bermed it all. Right now I have my amaryllises in here. By the time I'm ready to put the beets and the carrots and the potatoes in here, the amaryllises will probably be all dyed back. I have about a dozen amaryllises, and I take them out one at a time in the winter so that I have nice flowers all winter long. I'm going to start probably taking them out I'll start taking them out at the end of October. And so I take them out one at a time, and I take about a third of the dirt off of them to give them some nice fresh new dirt, and then they flower. And so 2 weeks later I'll take out another one, or a week later I'll take out another one, and I have nice amaryllis flowers all during the winter, so that's nice. Okay, so a lot of these ideas I have written up in my book, Celeste Garden Delights. I wrote this book because I had several friends really ask me to. They said, you have so much knowledge and you need to share it. So I've got the mayonnaise recipes in here, the root cellar is in there. There's just all about gardening, when to plant things. I've got my year because I have a kind of a schedule of things I do in January, things I do in February, things I do in March and April, and it's all detailed in here. And I even interviewed some other people in the back of the book, a beekeeper and a couple of soil specialists. So this is my book. It sells for $19.95. You can see more information at my website, which is CelesteLongacre.com. And I have some reviews of the book, and I do a blog there too. So I share information at my website as well.